Welcome to Trekommendations, a show where a wonderful guest beams in to help us find a hidden gem from the greater Star Trek universe. And this week we have the fabulous Ellie Littlechild from TrekCulture, Who Culture, and What Culture. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited.
You're excited. I'm excited. It's a pleasure to have you here. This will be releasing, I guess, in about a week's time. So you've just come back from a convention. So I appreciate that. Despite a busy weekend, you've had time to do an AM recording as well, which I think is the first one for the show. So
Yes.
let's see if I function as well in the morning. Let's see. Ellie, obviously people who have seen your greater body of work, but in case they haven't, I always like to start the show with some calibration questions, just so we can get a little feel for your Star Trek vibe. So the first question for you is, what would be your favorite non-Federation ship?
Oh, non-Federation.
Yes. I basically don't
So
want you to
here's the
say
thing, right?
Voyager.
Do you know what? Even if you'd asked me for Federation, I might not have said Voyager.
I know.
But see, the thing is, I'm not much of a ship person. Some people are like, "Oh, I love this ship and I love this ship," and I'm like, "Ship's a ship." But even though we didn't get to see much of it, I'm still going to make this about Voyager, because you had Neelix's little like junkyard ship, and I always wanted to look around at all the junk that he had in his ship and just figure out what sort of things he was collecting.
Yeah.
So I can't remember. Does it have a name? Oh, I'm showing myself up here. It might have a name, but I don't remember if it does.
I think Neelix's junk ship is a perfectly acceptable name. We immediately know the ship you're talking about, and two, it is giving us that metric for where you are in your tastes and stuff. Even the saying, "I'm not a ship person." There you go. Great. Well, this might be a different question then. Let's try this one. What's your feel-good Star Trek episode?
Oh, that's easy. That is Resolutions.
Yeah.
Resolutions. I mean, I don't think anyone will be surprised by that answer. Everyone knows that I am one of the biggest JC shippers alive, and that one just, it brings me comfort, but also a little bit of frustration that they didn't go as far as I wanted them to go. But it's my go-to episode.
Yeah. And then you sort of branch off from there and writing your own fanfic. And this is what then should have happened.
I feel I should set the record straight, because I have never written fan fiction, because writing maybe not my strong suit, but that doesn't mean I haven't read some.
Right. Okay. Maybe do an audio drama. That's the new thing, right? You could do an audio drama. Right. This one, I'm going to allow you now to bring in your greater sci-fi knowledge at this point, because the final question is, if you could bring in one alien species from another sci-fi franchise and put them in the Star Trek universe, which alien species would it be?
I feel this may be predictable, but people often ask me how I would like to see Star Trek and Doctor Who crossover. And I know a lot of people would like the TARDIS to just appear on the bridge of the Enterprise, or like the Enterprise to appear suddenly in a Doctor Who episode. But I think that's too on the nose. I've always said I want the connection to be the planets and the aliens. So I would love to see the Enterprise just rock up on Skaro and meet the Daleks, and that be how the crossover happens. So it's kind of more subtle. Like, you don't have the heroes of both shows working together and teaming up in this kind of cheesy, like, tongue-in-cheek crossover.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of said that the franchise is crossed over in terms of they're in the same universe and they come across the same aliens and whatnot, what's better than the Daleks to kick that off?
Yeah. It will be disappointing if the Enterprise rocks up, a little bit of technobabble later, and they're like, "Yeah, this was pretty easy fix to stop the Daleks." I don't know what that doctor can
The
have so much
Doctor
trouble
be
with.
like, "It's been 94 years."
Excellent. I do like that, though. I absolutely agree with you. That would be a much more, in a massive universe, that's less of a coincidence than him landing on the ship is just coming across, we've got the same bad guys. We've got the same bad guys.
Yeah, the Doctor can start facing the Borg. It'll be fine.
That I would like to see. I mean, that's
such a
it's
better
kind of
crossover.
Cybermen anyway, but yeah, but I'd love it.
Yeah, see, there's a story. The Borg and the Cybermen are of the same sort of creation, and one's just like a branch off of the other.
Wonderful. It's such a shame you don't write fanfic, Ellie, because we've got a great story already, but We'll leave that to the professionals.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, now it is time to get into the meat of the matter. I'm just going to add to the screen a little clock. Hopefully you can see that.
I can.
Because, in your favorite Captain Janeway's style of crunch time, sometimes you just got to do things quickly. So, in
Hmm.
60 seconds or less, Ellie, could you please share with us your Trekommendation and why you've brought it to the show?
I can. So my recommendation is a small business called Pop Galaxy Clothing, and they not exclusively but predominantly create female fit Trek inspired clothing. I'm wearing one of them, but if you are a woman in the Star Trek fandom, you will be aware that it is a predominantly male filled space, and that comes to the cosplay and things as well. So unless you're making them yourselves, a lot of the cosplays don't fit you. Pop Galaxy have swooped in and created these tops that are inspired by the different uniforms. They have Voyager ones, they have Next Generation ones, they have dresses, and it's all this clothing inspired by Star Trek that is aimed at women in a fandom that isn't necessarily as women focused. And people often ask me where my clothes are from. Pop Galaxy, that's where they're from. 4 seconds to spare.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, I feel less bad about not being aware of them as they are predominantly aimed at women. So that I feel kind of excused, and then also I suppose it justifies as well the entire creation of the business. So
Hmm.
in one sentence, you've really put me in my place there. I hadn't thought about the fact that I hadn't thought about that as a as a guy. Probably hadn't occurred to me about the form fittingness of the uniforms for women. But I that's why this show exists. So when you say, I guess I want to break it down into Star Trek inspired. Obviously, you've said you're wearing one today, so we can see sort
Hmm.
of an example there.
Yeah, let me stand up a little bit. You can see that it's inspired. This one is inspired by the Next Generation uniforms,
Yes.
but obviously it's not that color.
Here's a
So
question
that's
for you.
kind of part of it.
Well, I was going to say, here's a question for you. When you're wearing that, um, obviously, I would. So I would see that. I would see the cut and the sort of diagonal line at the bottom, the shoulders, and I'm like, that's next gen. It's
Hmm.
pretty obvious. It's the silhouette of a next gen uniform. Um, Non-Trek people, if they see it, or kind of your more casual people, do they immediately go, "Well, that's a Star Trek thing," or is it just, "Oh, that's an interesting top"? What's
So
sort of
that
been
is
the
the beauty
reaction?
of them as well, because not only do they have the kind of standard colors, so the Next Generation ones that they have, they've got the red, they've got the gold, they've got the blue. Um, but then they also have kind of, this was a special edition one that's different, so that you could kind of wear it and you could either, if people know, go, yeah, that's Star Trek, or you could just wear it out and no one would know. They'd just think that's a cool top. So
Yeah.
you can kind of choose different designs. They have different colors. They have pink ones and purple ones, as well as the standard colors. So I think it depends on which one you would be wearing. So you mentioned I went to a convention this weekend. I wore my Voyager inspired one, which is obviously Anna. It's red. I was dressed as Janeway, and plenty of people recognized that that's who I was dressed as. I added props, so I had my comm badge, my pips, and kind of people knew what that was. I think if you probably wore that one out, people would be able to tell. But the beauty of them is that they also have styles like this that can be kind of toned down a little bit as well.
So the one you wore at the convention, was that also from them then?
Yes, yes, I
Oh.
have. Um, they did lots of different ones. They've done some inspired by the Discovery uniforms, the original series, and they're always working on new designs. So at the moment, they're working on a dress that's inspired by the. They're very vintage inspired, and I am a vintage girly, so they are very form fitting, and they are trying to do like different kind of vintage inspired Trek dresses, tops. They have other things as well. They've got this Wrath of cardigan, which is like the it's
Love that.
brilliant. And that's why I kind of caveat it by saying it's not exclusively female fit, because that is unisex. Anyone could
Yeah.
wear that cardigan. But these in particular are designed for female fit. but yeah, they have
Well, as you
Voyager
know, it's
ones.
getting cold in the winter. It's winter time
It
now. It's
is.
rolling into winter in the UK. It's pretty cold already. So a raff of cardigan could be right up my street.
It's
So
brilliant. It is brilliant. But yeah, they have different styles. Like I said, the one I wore this weekend was the red. I also have the gold for the Voyager style. The Next Generation ones as well. I have quite a few.
I was going to say at this point, I do need to ask, how many uniforms have you got?
Well, I have uniforms that aren't from Pop Galaxy, but from Pop Galaxy, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7.
Okay, so you're doing a good job single-handedly of trying to make sure they stay in business. Is your
Yes,
sort of your
yes.
mission there? How did you first discover them? You said they are. Did you say LA based?
They are LA based. I discovered them on Instagram. So Victoria, who runs the business, she posts lots of videos and updates. They're always at Star Trek Las Vegas. They always have a booth there where you can go and see the actual products as well, as opposed to just videos or pictures. I was actually quite surprised when I saw it. I was like, how have I never seen this before? It's combined my favorite things, which is vintage style and Star Trek, into one thing. Like, how have I not found this before? But yes, they are LA based, but they ship worldwide.
Yeah, that's always and that's, I mean, that's, I guess, not up to them, the reasonable price of shipping, which is
Yeah, that is the one thing. If you know, I'm supposed to be recommending, but obviously, any product, a lot of the products for Star Trek are US based, so you always have to consider that shipping is not great.
usually, yeah, usually the cost of the product again. It's
Yeah,
quite often
but
the
that's
case.
not their fault.
That's not their fault. I understand that. So the idea is make sure you're doing a trip out to the US and leave half your suitcase empty, stock up, bring
Yes,
it back.
yeah,
Is that the strategy? Okay.
that's the strategy.
With regards to them, so I I was also at a convention this weekend as well, much smaller than the one you went to, and I pulled out a Star Trek uniform that I have had for many years, and I tried to put it on, and I realized it absolutely does not fit anymore because, in a good way, it didn't fit because I've spent more time in the gym over the last years than when I bought that, so it wasn't like a bad thing, but it did mean I could not wear it. But I also, on like examining it, I was kind of looking at the fit and being like, hey, why is it, do I have a longer torso than I realized? Because everything felt really kind of like the sleeves were fine, but it just felt like it was kind of stopping early.
Mm-hmm.
So with regards to, obviously you're saying these have been designed more female fit, so they're going to fit you
Mm-hmm.
better anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
you've also got uniforms from other, other
Mm-hmm.
places.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest differences for you then when you're putting one of their ones on, or you're kind of got a replica from somewhere else?
Mm-hmm. So the reason I was so happy to find these is I wanted a Voyager uniform, and there are websites that you can buy them from. I'm not a seamstress. I can't even sew on a button, so there's no way in hell I'm making one myself. But there's lots of websites where you can buy the uniforms. But as I said, it's a very male dominated business, and so most of them are standard men's US sizing. So I ordered one, which was the full on jumpsuit
Yeah.
in a small, which was the smallest I could get, and it arrived and was about 3 times the size of me. Honestly, it looked like I was wearing a sack. It was ginormous. Luckily, I have a wonderful grandma who I put it on and went, "Is this fixable?" And I genuinely thought she was going to say, that's too big. I can't do anything with that." Bless her heart, she had it for months and she took it all in for me, fixed all the sizing, but it was a big job. And she did say to me at the end, never buy one of those again because
Okay.
it was a big job. The difference being obviously with this is that I bought it in an extra small and it fit me straight away. Now, these aren't the full on jumpsuit, so you would have to get some black trousers or whatever to go with them. But small price to pay for something that actually fits you properly without having to spend either lots of money or lots of time or wasting money because you can't get it
Yeah.
altered, which a lot of them are. Now, some of them do fit. I do have a couple that do fit from other companies, but they're very hard to come by, and you might find one week that's completely disappeared off the face of the internet by the next. So
Yeah.
these are here to stay.
And arguably, I mean, depending on what, if you're wearing it to a convention and you're gonna be out all day, it not being a jumpsuit is probably more convenient in the long run. You know,
These are very much the material is kind of like t-shirty, kind of comfortable, lightweight material.
yeah,
The only advice I give, and I gave it when I did my little unboxing when they arrived, is they are designed very much to look like the uniforms, which means they are very tight turtleneck. So if
right.
you're like me and you're going to do your hair like Janeway, very much recommend you put the uniform on first.
Okay,
Otherwise,
just
you
like
spend hours
undo
doing your
everything as you.
hair and then ruin it by putting your top over the top of it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that when you were saying about kind of how baggy the other one is. That is,
Mm,
the whole thing of the uniforms were about how kind of how form fitting they were and wrinkle
mm.
free and like tight, which is probably the thing that you notice the most when people have just bought a uniform and are walking around a convention, is that they're not like that. They're quite,
Yes.
usually they're a bit baggy. They just, and it's because, yes, fewer, as yourself, many of us are like, I'm not altering this. Like, I've bought the one that
Mhm.
is closest to me, and that will do. And so,
Yeah. In my
yeah,
case, that was it couldn't do because it
no,
was
no, yes,
still ginormous.
yeah. Well, we all have our burdens we have to live with, Ellie, and that clearly is yours. That, but you
Honestly,
found a
that's part of
solution.
the struggle. It is part of the struggle because, things are kind of when you buy things that are mass produced, they are kind of standard sizing. Now, I'm 5'1" and very petite. So in
Right.
general, clothing can be a very iffy thing for me to buy anyway because the fit on me is different. But it's the same for lots of people. But to find, especially when you're in a fandom and you want to dress in costumes, it's very frustrating when you can't find things that will fit your body. And you know that you're going to struggle with that because even everyday clothing can be a struggle to find things that fit you properly.
Yeah,
So it's really nice to have something that I can just buy and put straight on without having to spend hours altering.
yeah. Who's got the time for that? That's absolutely the case.
My
And
grandma.
your grandma, yeah, yeah. She charges a lot, so that's
Yeah.
that's more than the uniform and the shipping is your grandma's costs. Um, I mean, I saw some pictures, like a few selfies and things like that from the convention you were at, and I saw you in the
Hmm.
uniform. To me, like, obviously, I'm not standing there, in person examining the uniform, but from the pictures I saw, I didn't realize it wasn't just one of the kind of replica uniforms that came out. It looked, perfectly passable. So
Mm.
if it's convenient, it fits. You don't need to worry about editing, modifying it in any way. And when you're getting your selfie with some of your favorite people from the world of Star Trek, or there's a prop that you can sit on the bridge or something, you're gonna look great, right? It's gonna pass all the kind of
Mm.
tick boxes, I guess, of why somebody would choose to wear a uniform to a convention in the first place, or
Yeah, and I would say
just
Pop
around the house.
Galaxy are very oh, just around the house. Pop Galaxy, their attention to detail is immaculate. So the reason that the Voyager ones in particular, they're kind of one of their newest releases. They've been talking about creating them for a really long time, and the reason they took such a long time to come is they were so specific about getting the accurate colors of the materials. The right shade of blue or teal, the right shade. So they're also all in one in as much as so the uniforms would have the undershirt and then the jumpsuit over the top. These tops, the purple of the undershirt is built in. It's all in one.
Right.
So it's part of the top. So they wanted to make sure they had the right shade of this kind of purpley grey colour. So their attention to
How did they
detail
do
is
that? How did they even do that? Because I still cannot work
yeah.
out what that color is.
I don't know.
And I was,
Sometimes it's grey, sometimes it's purple. I'm like, I don't know what colour this is
yeah,
supposed to be.
and I was watching, and you sometimes think, oh, maybe it's just my TV, the settings I've got there, or the picture I'm looking at. This, I was watching an episode of Voyager last night, and I swear people were wearing different colored tops, like
I
on the
think they
bridge.
are because you can buy purple or grey on the ones that are mass produced. They sell
Yeah,
purple ones and grey ones. So I think there are differing colours and shades, but they obviously were looking for one that seemed the most accurate to
uniform.
their
Yeah,
eyes. Yeah.
no, but that's impressive. Are they? So you said they're like a small business, right? So they're just. Do
Hmm.
you know kind of? I mean, not the ins and outs, but like, I would assume then if now I'm like, okay, I want to go and buy a load of stuff. Like, is it big waiting times? Is it is it all kind of there ready to go? This obviously took a long time for them to go through all those
Mm.
processes to create a new product, which you know makes sense. And and especially with the reasons given. But just in general, like obviously as a small business, but then I guess you've got ideally quite a big market of women that are not happy with the offerings of uniforms and things like that. So
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak completely for them because
yeah,
I don't know the ins and outs. But from what I've seen, I would say tops like the standard kind of base three colors are
hmm,
probably ones that they have in stock more
yeah,
frequently. But I do know from past experience, a lot of them they'll kind of announce a release of something and do a pre-order, and I think they wait until the pre-orders get to a certain number, then get them produced. So I did order some. I think maybe it was this batch where, or maybe even the batch before, where one of them it hadn't been produced yet, so they
right,
waited until that one had been produced before they sent me my entire order. Um, and I know I think it was maybe the Discovery style ones they did. There wasn't a lot of interest in those ones, so they ended up just kind of self-producing the kind of few that had been ordered to fulfill those orders, but there wasn't enough like interest in those ones for them to
yeah,
get like a batch order of them ones produced, as far as I was aware. So I think it is difficult for them, and the more interest there is and the more people that buy them, the more they can produce them. But if there's not a lot of interest, it probably ends up costing them more to produce
yeah,
them than they're going to make from selling them.
yeah, which is perfectly understandable. And if you know the ins and outs of sort of businesses and storage and
Mm.
production lines and shipping and all of that, it makes perfect sense. The problem is we live in an age of Amazon where people are like, well, if I order it today, it should arrive tomorrow. And like, well, it doesn't
Yeah.
always doesn't always work like that. You're ordering
No.
something that
and
hasn't
and the
actually been made yet.
yeah. And the American Postal Service as well. I've always heard people in the US complain about the US Postal Service, and I've always been like, yeah. I've ordered many things from America over the last couple of years that have not turned up, that
Just
have got
disappeared.
lost, just disappeared halfway across the world and never arrived. So I kind of understand why people in the US complain about the Postal Service so much now, because we're very lucky in the UK. You could order something from Scotland and it will be at your door the next day. I forget that the US is slightly larger than the
Yeah,
UK.
yeah, just a little bit bigger, just
A little
slightly
bit.
bigger, slightly bigger. No, but that's really. I mean, it sounds great. So, you've obviously had a chance to speak with the owners of the company? Then you kind of. I
Very
feel like you're
briefly,
not somebody
yes.
who just buys a product and then bye bye. I feel like you're always networking. You're always talking to people. You're always
Um, Always chatting. No, we've spoken very briefly on social media. Obviously, when I first found their page, I was very quick to tell them how excited I was to have found them. This top in particular actually was sent to me by them. I ordered the Voyager ones, and Victoria was very kind and actually gifted me this particular top in my order. So they're very lovely. They're very lovely people.
yeah.
And that's why I felt they
Because
needed to be shouted out.
yeah, well, that's the other thing about like I mean, the fact that you can say Victoria, you know the name, whereas
Mhm.
if you are buying a mass-produced uniform
Yeah.
off of whatever, you don't know anybody involved in this process. You can't give like genuine feedback, or you can say, "Oh yeah, it was a nice product," but being able to say, "Look, I really like that because of this, this, and this," which are things they can then take away when they're doing their next one. And it's sort of
hmm
like, oh, we could do it this way and change this thing. It's like, a lot of people said they really liked this element, so we should try and keep it. So I've kind of it's like that balancing of we've talked about, especially if you're in the US, fair enough, but if you're in the UK and you're hearing this and being like, oh gee, I'm gonna go check them out. Well, shipping costs are one thing I have to consider. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
okay, but returns are another thing you've got to consider if you're buying a uniform just off the rack somewhere else that does not fit, and you're like, oh, bought it, thought it was good, no, send it back, or you've got to track down Ellie's grandmother, which is going to be tricky. Um,
She said no more. No more.
She said no more. So yeah, you've got to somehow convince her as well, which is tough. No, but I think that's nice shouting out a company like that, because it's interesting as well that yes, it's a space that predominantly is catered to men with regards to kind of the stuff being produced in that way. But the fandom now is so mixed. We've got such a diverse
hmm
fandom, which is wonderful, and it's taking time for things to catch up.
Yeah.
So a small company that says, "Well, we've seen." Yeah, And what do you know their background at all? Like why they decided to do this beyond, I'm hoping it wasn't just we've seen a gap in the market, let's build something out, but it sounds more like they have a passion for Star Trek, but do
Yeah,
you
and
know
I think
much
they
at all?
absolutely do. I don't know much about their backstory. I know they kind of started out producing other sci-fi focused clothing, and they do still have other sci-fi focused clothing, but predominantly there's a lot of Star Trek things. But yeah, I don't know their full
Yeah.
backstory.
Beyond the uniforms,
Hmm.
so you mentioned like the cardigan, which will live on in memory now forever. Um, do they have other kind of? I guess it's that. Do they have? So while the top you're wearing now, it's like it could just be a nice top, not necessarily, Star Trek for everyone.
Hmm.
Also, and don't take this the wrong way, but also not super subtle, right? Like it's quite a bold design.
It's very
Um,
wow.
yeah, do they have other things that if I was like, I want something I can wear that sort of a fan might spot and be like, "Well, I see what you've done there," but it would fly a bit under the radar. Are they doing that kind of stuff, or is it much more replica uniforms, kind of? I suppose I would say event clothing over
Mm,
casual
yeah.
everyday clothing.
I would say probably more focused towards event in terms of the wow factor. But then they've got other designs. Like I mentioned, they have dresses. So they have swing
Mm,
dresses that are designed like the original series uniforms. So they're maybe more of a block color with the kind of black just around the top here. And they're swing dresses. So if you're someone like me who would wear that anyway, then I wear kind of vintage clothing, so I would be happy to wear that walking down the street. People might look at me because I'm wearing something against the norm of jeans and a hoodie, but yeah, I would say probably more focused towards kind of event, but there's nothing to stop you wearing it
yeah,
every day if you want to. I mean, they don't have the com badges or anything on them, so they're subtle enough that you could just be wearing a wow style,
yeah.
um, but you
I
can
mean,
obviously
I
dress that
love
up.
the idea that somebody just found it and was like, "Oh, I really like this," and they have no idea that it's Star Trek. Just like, this is a really cool dress. Oh, I really like that, and then they're wearing it around, and people going, "Oh, yeah, nice, good reference." Oh, look, it's Uhura, and they're like, "What? What are you talking about? I just like bold red colors and a swing dress. This is my perfect
Yeah.
outfit." Yeah, no, but it's nice. I mean, I always love it when for me, it sort of sums up the purpose of this show a little bit when things like this
Mm,
come on, because this is something that I never, why would I come across it? I wouldn't come across it
exactly.
unless someone told me about it. And I imagine, you're saying like, oh, they're always at, they're there in Las Vegas. And I'm thinking about all the people I know that love Star Trek that are not making it to Las Vegas. Like that's just
Well,
too far
yeah,
for me.
that's another thing. When you're UK based, that's also a sad thing about being a UK based Trekkie is a lot of
Yeah.
the fun stuff is in the US.
Yeah. But knowing that, oh, actually, there is a company out there that if I wanted to, invest and buy something, I mean, I'm sure the fact that you're still wearing it, the quality is excellent. I'm going to guess that you're very
Yeah, they're
happy.
very comfortable,
Yeah, and
machine washable.
oh, that's a big tick for a lot of people, right there. Because I guess that's the thing. If
Yeah.
I'm investing in something, it's the classic of like, oh, do I spend less money and I get something and then I have to replace it quickly,
Mm.
or do I spend a little bit more money? And in this case, the little bit more money, if you're in the UK, is the shipping. We're going to be honest about
Well,
that.
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like, but once I've got it, as you said, machine washable, I can reuse it. It's comfortable, so I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm not going to wear it for an hour or two and then be like, that's it, I got to take this off now, and I'll just wear a t-shirt for the rest of the day because it's too
I
hot.
mean, it's like wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Basically, the material is very soft, very comfortable. It's like wearing a t-shirt, but it just looks cool.
yeah, which is good because conventions get hot. Even even the ones in the winter, you'll go in and you're like, oh, but it's, and you get in there at the in the early in the morning, you're like, oh, it's pretty cold in here. By the time all the people are there and everyone's milling around and the body heat is just, they get warm. You get really
Mm.
hot.
Yeah,
So
I mean, these are all of them are kind of cropped sleeves. So when I say they're not entirely screen accurate in as much as
yeah,
it's all in one. The sleeves are cropped. It is designed to be a kind of vintage style inspired Trek uniform as opposed to a replica of the uniform.
yeah, okay. So if you're buying it for a cosplay competition, maybe not, or do, but you might not
I
win.
mean, you can
Um,
pass. I mean, like you said, I was wearing it
yeah,
at
yeah,
this convention this weekend. Anyone who knew who I was instantly recognizable. I had plenty of people coming up going, "You're Janeway." I was like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah. Well, I feel like the hair does a lot of the heavy lifting in that, though, Ellie.
That's true.
Because I think I could have worn it, walked around, and they would not have said you're a Janeway. They might have. They might have. No,
Who
I love
knows?
it. Who knows? Who knows? No, I think it's a great recommendation. It really fits the. I mean, what I didn't want was that people would just turn up and be like, "Have you seen First Contact?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen First Contact." That's. I think most of us have. I want that people come in and bring stuff that, you know, are hidden gems, and I think maybe many people do know who that, you know, where this company is and what they're doing. I'd not heard of them. I'm thinking, like, I'm sure my mum's never heard of them. You know, so there we go. We've passed the test, because I realized
Good.
that they're not targeted to me, so it's understandable I might not have heard them. But I'm thinking of other women I know in the world of Trek. My wife's not heard about them. There we go. We've passed the test that way as well. Okay, but she will now. Thank you for bringing along this recommendation. But I also always like to open up to the audience a little bit if they can ever help out our guests in this spirit of collaboration and cooperation. Ellie, is there, this is going to be hard, I think, knowing you, but is there an area of the Star Trek universe, fandom, content world that you have not explored as much as you would have liked and you would appreciate a recommendation about?
Well, actually, I do. And it actually stems from my actual recommendation, because I'm always looking for more small businesses that have niche products that are focused on Star Trek. You know, this company, for example, there's a company, I have a hair clip in here that's a Voyager ship claw clip. And I
Right.
have different hair clips that are inspired by Star Trek. And who one day decides I'm going to make something so niche but also is appealing to such a specific group of people. Like,
Yes.
Star Trek and claw clips is my personality rolled into one product. So I'm always on the lookout for more small businesses who have made their business out of creating something so niche but so creative at the same time. So any recommendations? Obviously, I like it when they're women focused, but that's not all I'm looking for. But yeah, more small businesses that are making really niche Star Trek products. That's what I'm looking for.
That somehow completely align with Ellie's personality every time, which is crazy.
Every time. Well, there's also Pop Culture Coffee, and they make different coffee blends inspired by different pop culture. They've done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they've done Ghostbusters, they have Star Trek coffee. Coffee blends is brilliant. But like, who one day thinks, you know what, I'm going to make a living off of? I'm going to make pop culture inspired coffee. It's so niche.
Do they do Ractogino? That's what I need to know.
Yes,
Then
they do.
I have to. That is the drink that of all the you know, bright colored liquids we've seen people drinking in the sci-fi world. As a coffee drinker, I'm just like, I've got to try Ractogino. That would be the drink I would want more than, you know, Romulan ale or anything like that. I'm just like, I just need. So
and
okay.
someone thought, you know what, I'm going to create that.
There we go. They found my personality, Ellie. Amazing.
Yay!
Because up until now, I was thinking I need to do some more self-reflection, because Ellie clearly knows what her personality is and has found all these companies that somehow have blended these different elements of her personality into a product. And I was thinking, why has no one done that for me? I don't really know enough about myself. But here we go. We found it.
Coffee.
So thank you for the bonus recommendation. I really do appreciate
You're welcome.
that. Ellie, it's been lovely chatting with you. I do know as well that you have more Trek content to record today, so I'm not going to monopolize any more of your time, but I would give you a big thank you for coming on the show, sharing with us this excellent Trekommendation. Ellie, if people do want to find the other things you are doing in the sci-fi universe, I suppose, where are the best places to find you? What projects have you got coming up?
So I guess professionally, if you want to call it that, you can find me over at TrekCulture and WhoCulture most specifically on YouTube, and we also have various social media pages, and then I have personal pages as well on all the social media platforms that you can think of. I'd say I'm probably most active on Instagram. You just search my name, it's very It's not a very common name, so if you search my name, you'll probably find me. But yeah, all of the social media places. That's where I'll be.
Yeah, excellent. I have to really make sure I don't put a little gap in your name, and say it as Littlechild and not Little Child. Like I'm trying to make sure I run the two words together.
It's a unique name. Oh, and the other thing, I will be at Warp 1 in a couple of weeks, so that's where you can find me next. I will be.
Yeah. Okay. I was really looking at that, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. So maybe next year. Let's see.
Maybe next year.
Let's see if this podcast blows up. Who knows? Who knows where I could be? I could be in Las Vegas, but that's a big reach at the moment. Anyway, thank you once again, Ellie. Thank you everybody for listening. I will be back next week with another guest and another Trekommendation.